Hello guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to look at the JavaScript DOM, that is the document object model. We have been looking at the JavaScript advanced topics, and yes, so today we are going to look at JavaScript DOM, and in this tutorial we are just going to look at some of the JavaScript advanced topics, and yeah, so let's get started. So let's start with the DOM. What is DOM, and what can it do for you as a JavaScript developer? So we can access all objects inside an HTML document using JavaScript. So you realize that this means that when a web page is loaded, we can modify the page since the browser creates a document object model of the page. Now, for example, let's say here I have my HTML, and within my HTML, it has a kind of a tree structure whereby we have the head, which contains the particular elements you can see, and then we also have the body, and then we have the closing body and the closing tags for body and HTML. Now you realize DOM JavaScript can manipulate this particular HTML document so that we can change some things. For example, we can change this title of the DOM, that is of the HTML, to something else using JavaScript. So that's what DOM does, and it is very highly useful in this that is when we are manipulating our pages. Alright, so let me just get this started up. That is on my live server. Alright, so so let's just begin from somewhere. So as I've just said, so a DOM has a tree kind of a structure whereby we have that is whenever you go to your JavaScript, okay, your JavaScript runs within your Chrome. That is, within the Chrome is the V8. So your JavaScript is normally run within a JavaScript within a Chrome engine. Now you realize that within this particular where it is run, as we have said, whenever a web page is loaded, we can modify the page since the browser creates the document object model of the page, and that means that whenever you load a page, the browser will create a DOM of the page. So let's just look at it in an example. For example, let's say this one is this is my, let's give it an ID of my app, and for instance, let's do something like so I have this as my HTML, and here in my script I can do something. Let's say, for example, I say document dot get element by ID. So we are saying get the element by ID since this is the ID and the ID is my app. So ID my app is the ID. So here I'm going to have my app, and then here it's going to be dot inner HTML, and then this one so now I'm going to give it a particular element here, like something like welcome to my app, something like that. Let me put exclamation mark. So that is it. So something like that. So that means that the output should give us the welcome. Let me put this to capital. Should give us something like this. Alright, now so let's look at the output. So let me save this one, and so now once I save this one, I think it should run automatically. Yes, so you can now see, so we are now rendering welcome to my app using our DOM functionality. So So we use get element by ID to find the element in our case, that is my app, and you can see this one, and then the inner HTML to find the content. So what it means is that the get.element by ID is it defines the ID of the particular that is to find the ID in our case, that is to find the ID of the element, and this case is as you can see my app here, and then inner.html, it finds the content. So here inner.html not finds, but it gives the content, whatever you want now the HTML to render. Now for example, if you wanted to change this title, okay, it will be an heading, and then the heading, the head, and then the whatever you want it to change to, then you'll have to use the inner.html. Now for example, the HTML and the body, let's say for example, let's do another example. For let's say I wanted to change the color, I wanted to give it a particular color, so we can say document dot body. Now here I'm accessing the body of the HTML of the HTML. So here body document.body.style background. So here we have the background, and then now here the background we are going to give it blue. So we want the background to be blue. So what we have done here, we have just accessed the body. Remember this, where we have the body, and then accessing the body we are using the dot style. Now you also need to realize dot style is part of the DOM, so we can use dot style to style up our DOM objects using the style that is the CSS. So here we can do that. So here when I save this one, it should change to blue. So now the background should change to blue. So that is it. So the document.body is an object that represents the body, as I've just said, tag, and then we have used the style.background to give it the body a background of blue. All right. So now let's look at more examples to get the hang of this. Now I'm going to give you more examples so that you can understand the JavaScript DOM and how it works. So now the first example that we're going to do is we are going to create a node. And what is that? We are going to create a text node. Sorry. So what is a text node? Now a text node is one of the ways to create the DOM nodes in JavaScript. For example, when you look at so this is what I'm talking about. So here we have create a text node like this, right? So that is it. So here we are going to create a text node. Okay, so here, so what we are doing here is that the syntax for creating should be document dot create. So here we have, and then here we have the text. Sorry, this is the text node like that. And then here we just include the text that we want to create. So that is how it is. I don't remember typing document.timeline. Should be document.create. Yes. So document.create, and then the name of the text that we want to create. So this should be the particular, that is, this should be the syntax that we should use to create a text node. All right, now let me just do some. Okay, so now let's see it in action. So in this example, we'll create a text node with different text. So for example, let's say okay, so let me do something like this. So within your body here, I'm going to create something of this manner. So let's say let me change this one to a p tag like this. So my app, and then here I'm going to change this to p element. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have a div like this, and then this div is going to be equal to, sorry, this is it's going to be equal to demo1 like that, and then here I'm going to have it like that. So let me just copy and paste this one. So like that. So this one is going to be demo2, and then this one is going to be demo3 like that. So what I want to do, I want to create a text at a go using that is which is going to bear the demo1, the demo2, and the demo3. So within your script here, so let me just use this one. So remember, we can use the normal script.js, which I've created as an external file, or else I can also use an inline. So let me just use the inline so that it can be easier this way. So let text1, so let text1 be equal to, so now here we are using a variable, we are creating a variable text1 which is going to link within the demo1 here. So for example, let me give it something like I like JavaScript, something like that, and then let's close that one. So now the next one is like this, and then like this. So this is going to be text2. Okay, so here you have something like everyone, not everyone, but every programmer must learn JavaScript. Okay, unless, and this one can be JavaScript is amazing, maybe exclamation mark. So now that is it. And so now what can we do here? Now remember, we are creating a text node. Remember, this is what we are creating, and then remember, this is the syntax. I think I had shown you the syntax. So now this is the syntax for creating a text node here. So let me just comment it out so that you note. But this is now the syntax for creating a text node. So now remember, this is the first thing that we are looking at. Alright, so maybe I can just save that one. Okay, so now so what are we doing now, or what are we going to do? So now we are going to create the text node using the particular defined divs here. For example, we want to display I like JavaScript, and then the second one like that. Now this one, the divs are going to assist us. We are going to use now the DOM, or we are going now to access the DOM using the normal, that is using our document .object model, so that it can display for us this particular 3 text using the HTML of the demo. Hoping you are getting the hang of this. Now demo1, so you're going to say demo1 dot append, then here into brackets you're going to have document dot create, and then here it's going to be create text node, then into the text one, just like we defined the syntax, as you can see here. So we are just using, so now the append is to append is simple. It's just an English word, mean that we want it to be, we want it to be placed at a particular, that is to be the first one, that is to be appended at the first one, to put it, to place it. So to append is like just to place. So here let's close that one, and then let's go to demo 2. So now we are using the demo from the HTML so that we can manipulate it to create our text here. So here now, text content is also another way of creating text. So apart from using the create text node, we can also use that is, we can also use text content to create text. So here is going to be a text 3, and then we close it. Sorry, no, this one should be okay. So this one can be demo 3, like that, text 3, and then here let's just copy that one and then paste it. Now this one is going to be, now these are 3 ways you can create a text. I think there's something I'm missing to tell you. So here we can use it like that, and then here you can say, now what you need to know here is that these are 3 ways we can use to create text within that is within the JavaScript. So we can use the append, the create text node. We can also use the inner HTML. Remember, as we have spoken about the inner, there should be demo 2, there should be demo 3. Okay, so remember we have talked about the inner HTML, whereby you're able to, you assign the content that you want to be presented within the DOM, right? So let me see. Okay, so this is text 2. Okay, so right guys, so here we need to, this one was text 2, so I think that's where the error is coming from, but now this should be good to go. So this text 3. Alright guys, so what we need now, we just need to check the output. Okay, so this is now the output. As you can see, I like JavaScript. Every programmer must learn JavaScript. JavaScript is amazing. So that is that. So that is the way to create a text within the JavaScript, and then using the create text node. So this is just one of the way. This is also another way you can do it, but the common one we use is this one. Remember, I've shown you the syntax here, the way we can create. Now let's go to another example. Now this example is going to utilize how to create create. So here we are going to have something like create to-do list. So create a to-do list like this, right? So now let's just begin here. So how do we create a to-do list here? So what we can do here, let's just come back here, can take this one out. So here I'm going to have, for example, GH tags, something like the title of to-do list. Now remember, I'm showing you this example so that you can understand DOM in action. So now it is used, but these examples, they focus on the topics that you would find that you would find explaining about the JavaScript DOM. So let me take that one out. So we are just having an heading tag, and then within the script here, let me use this script. So here we are going to create something like let an ordered, that is element, equal to document dot create element. So here we are going to create an ordered element with the dot side. As you can see, I think you know the unordered list, sorry, not element but list. So that is what we are going, so that's what we are doing. So we are saying access the document and then create the element of the unordered list. So that is what we are doing here, and then we just close that one. And then now here we say document. So I want you to follow closely. So document, and then now we are going to access the body, and then we say dot append. So append the unordered list, and then once that is done, we're going to use the while statement to say while true so while true, let data be equal to prompt, and then prompt is just used to in JavaScript just to allow us to enter particular, like if you want to enter a particular input, so prompt is used to do that. Now you need to realize I've also done a JavaScript crash course for beginners, so I've explained some of these things. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link in the description below this video. So enter the to-do list. So here we are going to enter the to-do list like that, and then we just close and then here we can have the empty brackets just to allow the user to enter. Now here we are going to say if data is not equal to, so if data is not equal, a break, that is to mean that once the person enters, and for example he enters the data and then he cancels, then it will just automatically vanish away. But then if he enters a particular data here, that data should be appended. So here we are going to say let li be equal to document dot create. So we are going to create the element. Now this element you are going to create is the list item, that is the list item with the other, that is the list items. So here we are going to say within the list items we want to create the particular text. So we're going to say li dot text content. Remember I've told you text content is also another way of creating text within JavaScript, is equals to the data that we had just given here. So what we're going to do is that we are going to say ui dot append, and then here we're going to append the li like this. Alright, so now that's it. So what we are doing here is that we are just creating the data, that is using the let keyword, the variable, and then we are allowing the user to enter a particular list of items, and then if there is no data, then we just end it from here. So it means that the program ends just from here, and then we break, and then we're saying alright, if he enters the data, then create the li, the list items, the text content for the text that the user creates, and then append the text. Append means that once he creates and he he clicks cancel, the text is going to be created. So let's see this in action. So the prompt, remember as I've said, so here let's say to-do list. So the first one is make tea, the second one is okay, let me remove this background that we had given here. You can just comment it out so that we just have it. So here at given make tea, another to-do list would be, okay, just my to-do list, and then visit a friend, like that. So now when I click cancel, it should create, okay, all right, so let's see. So make tea and program. Okay, let me cancel. Okay, there has to be an issue, because once you click the append, it should create the particular element. So let's see. So what we are doing, we are creating the UL, the element, they are not at list, and then we are getting the document object body, we are saying append the UL, and then now while it's true, we use the prompt keyword to enter the to-do list, and then now if there's nothing that is entered, we terminate from here. But once the person enters the data, so the text content creates the data, then it is appended. So now once we come here to the program, so we enter something like make tea, and then here we have something like program. So now when you cancel, it is able to make the to-do list, because it is able to append the particular text. So that's how, so this one is running under this particular part. But if there's nothing, if you cancel, for example, let me refresh again, and you cancel before you enter, so this one is just going to be left like that. Remember, this is just the heading that is coming from here. So guys, so now this is an example of still we also have, that is create a to-do list, and then yeah, so let's look at another example for you to understand more. So now in this so we are now going to create I'm going to do another example. So create a tree. So create a tree from an object. So this is what we are doing here. So we are creating a tree from an object. So let's do this example. So let me take this one for create to-do list. So so I have a website whereby you are able to check all this. So I have a website whereby I'm able to write, I'll write all this, and then you'll be able to go through it and check it out. So now let me take that one out, and okay, so let's do, okay, so what we have in here, I'm going to create, as I have said, I'm going to create a tree from an object. So what happens here, I'm going to have something like this. So now this is what I'm talking about. So here I'm having something like let data, and then this data has a particular that is a particular data elements. For example, fruits, we have two fruits, computers, different types of computers, and then mini computers likewise. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a nested UILI list from the nested object. That is to mean that now we want to present, for example, fruits is going to have the ULI, for example, list, and then computers and mini computers, like so. So here let me take this one out. So here I'm going to have a div ID, and then this div ID has something like container, like this is, so this is going to be like that. So now below this script, below this particular nested objects, now I'm going to create something. Remember, the title of the example is to create a tree from an object. So that's what we are doing. So by the end of it, you'll be able to understand what I mean. So here I'm going to have a function create tree, and then here I'm going to insert the container. Now the container is what I've just given an idea of container. So to be able to access our container from the HTML, and then here we're going to pass the obj, that is the object. Remember, we are creating a tree from an object. So here I'm going to have container dot append. Now you should be able to understand append by now. And then here we are going to say create tree DOM, and then here I'll pass the obj, that is the object, and then let me close it like that. So that is what is happening just at the start of this particular function. So that function does that. Now let's create another function here, and this function is the one to create now the tree DOM. So here let's say yes, create tree DOM like that, and then here I'm going to pass the parameter, the obj. So here now we're going to give an if statement to say if the object is not equal to dot keys into obj, that is dot length, then what are we going to do? We are going to return so if object dot keys into the obj dot length, that is not equal to keys, so we are going to return. So what are we going to return? So let me just show you here. So here down we are going to create a variable which is the dot ul, that is ul, that is we are going to say document dot create element. So now when I mention things such as create element, you should be able to understand now what now we are doing. For example, here we are going to create a ul element. In my JavaScript crash course, I've discussed things such as object and keys, so you may want to check that out so that you can understand if you are a beginner to this. So for is going to say let, that is let key in obj. So now the purpose of using the key is to get the object elements, and the object elements we are talking about is, these are now the object elements from, for example, from the data, and then the objects elements like this. So remember, these are the objects. So here now we want to pass them in our key. So here okay, let's open that one, and then let's say let li be equal to document, that is document it should be document.create element into li, and then here once, okay, so that is done. So here, sorry, this should be like this. So here we're going to now say li dot inner HTML. So we are using the inner HTML to pass the content, and the content we are passing the content of the key that we have just created above. So now lastly we're going to say let, that is we are going to create another variable of children. So now children, we mean that access the children that is UL, and this is going to be caps. So here what we mean here, we have this fruits, and then we have the particular children from the product, and then the product types, like that. So that's what we are doing here. So this variable is going to do that. So we are going to pass it the create function, the create tree DOM into the obj, so the object, then into key. So we are passing the key from the data, that is for the data, right? And then here we're going to use an if statement, that is children. So here what we are doing, that we are passing the if, the children, the UL of the children, and then here we are going to append it. So we say dot append, and then the children, like that. So now down here, the ending, we're going to say should not be, okay, should be that way. And then now we are going to use the append, so that we can append the list items within our program. And then let's just end that one. And then now here, once we do that, we are going to return. Now I'll leave this program so that you're able to check. Now it may look long, but remember this is an advanced course. So if you're a beginner and you are still checking this out, you need to first check the crash course that I've done, so that you can be able to follow this. So now let container, remember the container we had created just from above. Remember we created the container here, we passed it within our function tree. So here we are going to say let container be equal to document dot get element. Now here we're going to say get element by ID, which is the container that we had created within the start of the program, and which is this one. So here what I'm doing, I'm passing the container like that. Alright, so I'm passing the container just that way, and then here down here I'm going to say create tree, like that. So now let it create the tree from the container. So here we are just giving it the container, and then now here we are passing the data, like that. So now at the end of this you'll be able to understand what I mean. So remember what we are doing here, we are just creating, remember these are nested UL LI objects. So we want to present them in the nested form, the way they are, using the UL LI. So we have created a function create tree, we have passed the container and the object, and we have appended the create tree DOM of the objects, right? And then what we have done here, we have calculated the length using the keys of the object elements, and then here we are creating the ULI by using the document.create element, and then here we are using the for let key in obj. So we are using the key to access the object elements, and then we also create an li. Remember, we have created ul, then an li, because we're going to have the two of them, and then li.inner html, the key. So meaning that the object elements now are passed to the key. So now here we can now get the content. And then lastly, we access the children. Remember, the children are these ones. For example, types of computers, we have mainframe. Under mainframe we have a Z series, Univac series, and so forth. If you are a computer scientist, you must have known that. And then lastly, now the children we access, and then now we append the li list items and the unordered list items, and then we return. So now let's see this, if it's generated as expected. So there must be an issue here. So guys, so now once you save, okay, the problem must have been just the coding type. Okay, as we have said, so this is what we should be able to get as your output. Let me first show you. So the fruits, we're going to have this, and then the computers, you're going to have this, like this. So you can just see what the UL and the LI elements, and then this is what we are doing. So as as they are nested, we are able to append this particular UL and LI. So that this is just the example I was just showing you. So what you may want to do is this: just go and check out this program, see where you for your understanding, and then if you have any question, just post it in the description below, so that I may follow it up. And yeah, so the error was just here. It used this one, the UL should have been the LI, sorry, yes, not the LI, but which one is it? Yes, this one. So it should not have been the caps. So that's the error that was coming from in this program. So this is the output, and yes, the UL and the LI, and then we are able, as they are nested, we are able to present them in this particular way. Alright guys, so this is just examples for you to understand the DOM well. So now let's look at some few more examples. I think 2 examples, and then we'll look at something else. Now the other topic I want us to look at is how to clear elements within the DOM, right? So how to clear elements within the DOM, like that. So clear elements. So this is the example that we're going to look at. So let me take this one out. You find all this in my website, right? So and by the way, the website is the webdevtrainee.com. so webdevtrainee.com, you should be able to access all this content. Now in this example, we're going to write a function that clears everything from the element. Now let me take this one out as well. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have an OL, and then we're just going to have an ID. This ID we give it a tag of, that is, we give it element as the ID, and then here we are going to have several elements. For example, here I'm going to have some fruits like oranges, and then here I'm going to have more of it, So here I'm going to have bananas, and then here I'm going to have pineapples. So now that is the elements. Now what we want us to do, how can we clear these elements when they are presented in an HTML? Remember, using the DOM we can do that, because we can manipulate the DOM, that is the HTML document, and replace it or even delete. So here I'm going to have a function, and this function is, I'm going to give it the name of clear, and then I'm going to pass the parameter element, then into, so here I'm going to have let, and then I define the variable let I be equal to, yes, and then here I'm going to have, so here it's element dot child nodes, dot length, okay. So here we are just finding out what is the length of the child nodes that we have within our program. So that is what we are doing there, and then here we are just incrementing so that it can count all the elements within this particular for loop. This is good to have them in the spaces, yes, okay. Alright, so now here I'm going to say so element dot access the child nodes, and then here start with the from the I position, and then remove them. So here that's what we are doing here. So I'm removing them like that, and then here we're going to have something like let me just type it, and then you will see. And then lastly here I'm going to call the function here, and then the function is clear the element like that. So what this one does is this one clears the list. So this is what it does here. So here we are accessing the child nodes, which are these ones, and then from the I, remember this is 0, 1, 2, 3 and so forth. Remember we are using the for loop to loop within this particular elements, and then now we are going to remove them. Now this one, what it does, it's simple. This is also a way of saying I is equals to, that is, we are going to deduct. So as it is removing, it's deducting, right? So let's see this. So this is the elements, so you can see them. Okay, so they should be removed. So clear element, and then, oh sorry guys, so here there should be not check that one. So we should have an opening brackets. So let me save it, let's run. Now you can see they have been cleared, all of them, right? So they were presented, but now they have been taken out. So that is what this particular program does. So it clears the particular elements. Okay, so we have two more examples, and then we are good to go. So now the other example that I want us to check is how to, so here, how to clear nodes. Sorry, am I using the clear again? To clone, not to clear, but to clone. Now what is cloning? Cloning is replicating something to be, that is, to be similar as the one before. So let's look at how we can clone nodes in in JavaScript. So what we're going to do here is that here I'm going to give this one a div, then the div is going to be element, and then we're going to have something like I like, and then here let's close that. Right, so that is it. And then now here within the script we're going to have something like element dot append, and then here we're going to have document dot create create text node, and then the text node here we're going to pass okay, now you understand what we are doing already now here, so there's no much explanation. So here we are creating a text, and then let me close that one, and then here we are going to have something like we're going to have a variable, let div2 be equal to element dot clone and then here we're going to pass it as true, and then here we're going to have element dot after, and then the div2 like this. So now what we are doing here, we are remember I'm creating a text and appending it, which is JavaScript like this, and then here I'm creating another variable which is now going to clone, this clone is which is going to clone the first text, right? And then we are passing it to be true so that it can do that, and then so what we are doing, we let the div2 and then we clone, and then we present the element after, so that is the div2 like this, so that it can clone the first text, and then they're going to be now 2. So let's save this and let's check. As you can see now here, so we have I like JavaScript, I like JavaScript. So that is what is happening here. Alright guys, so that is how we clone nodes within JavaScript using the HTML. Now we can also insert HTML in a list. That is, we can insert HTML in a list using a method called insert adjacent HTML. I think that should be now the last example. So this other example here, we can that is, we can insert HTML in a list. You can see how DOM is very powerful, because now we can just use JavaScript to insert, for example, text like this, just using the DOM. Alright, so let me take that one out. So what we can have here is that for example, we can have something like let me take that one out. We can have something like UL, and then here we have an ID of UL. In other words, let me just create a UL element, and then we have something like LI within the UL. So LI ID, this one can be, let's say, let's just give it something like 1, and then within 1 we have my fruits. Okay, so here, since it's going to be similar, let me just copy that one and paste it. So here I'm going to have like 2, this is 2, and then here I'm going to pass sorry, this is, yes, bananas, like that. Yes, so now that is it. So this is just a particular text that we have in. So I think we should, yes, we should have these two. So now so let's go to our script. So now we can insert text in between this. For example, we can insert avocado here. I think this is what type of fruit. So how can we do that? We can do that using this particular method in JavaScript. So what we can say is that we can take the one, which is now this one. Remember the ID there, and then say one insert adjacent, and then here HTML, and then what we do here, we have something like after end. Sorry, okay. So after end, and then now what do we want to insert after end, after giving out? So what we're going to insert here is that we're going to give the particular what we want to insert within the particular position. So here we have li. Let's close it like that, and then I'm going to insert that particular fruit, and then here just normally we close, and then I also insert another fruit. Let me insert avocado this time. So it should be avocado like that, and then here I close it just like that, right? Yes, so now that is it. So here we can have this one closed like that. So after the end, as we have declared, so one insert adjacent HTML. So after the end of the one here, so here after this one, which should now be this position here. So this is the position here. So we are going to insert pineapples and then avocado like that, and then we just close this. Let's see if this is working. Alright, so good. So you can see now we have just inserted HTML in a list using the adjacent. So the important keyword is this, the adjacent, insert adjacent HTML, which is a method that we use. So guys, I think those examples are enough. Hey there guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we'll look at JavaScript array methods in detail. So we're going to look at array methods that are used in JavaScript, and these JS array methods are most useful. Okay, they are the most useful ones that you will not fail to use in your JavaScript projects. So let's dive in. So the first array method that we're going to look at today is the for each. So we will look at for each array method like this. So let me just comment it. Okay, so what is for each? So for each is common to most of us programmers. So for each, what it does, it iterates over a given array, and then it is able to return particular array of elements in a sequential manner. So let's look at it in an example to be able to understand, and why is it used in JavaScript, right? So for example, this is the syntax. So now this is the syntax that you would use with that is for each array method. So you have the array and the for each, the callback, and that is the callback function. Then here we have the value. So this is just the value of the particular element. The index, where is it located at? That is the index of the particular array element, and then the array itself, that is the whole array. So let's just do an example and be able to understand how it works. So so now this is array, this is the for each. For example, you have a variable constant fruits, and then let's say it's in array form. Like, let's just give particular elements. This that is examples of fruits. So here we have, oranges, then we have bananas, like that, and then here we have lemons, like so. So now this is just an array of elements, and then now here what you're going to do, we are going to use the for each method so that we can access each element in the array and print them out, all of them, just as the way you see them. So here we are going to have the for each, which is now the array method, and then here we are going to have the callback function. That is, we are going to define it as a fruit. So now the callback function is the one that is going to call this array of elements so that we can print them out using the for each. So here we're going to say, so let's just use the alert, and then we indicate fruit, that is this one, and then here we can close with. So here we have in this, and then here we need to close it like this because of the, like that. So okay, so this one will just be that way. So what are we doing here? So what we have just defined an array, a variable, and then here we have defined the array of elements, and then the fruits dot for each, and then the the callback function, which is fruit, and then the alert statement here. So what it does is it will call this particular that is under the fruits. We are able to call the array of elements, and then we are able to print them. So the fruits being the defined variable, and then the for each method. So let's just look at it in an example. Let's see. Okay, so we have the first one, second one, the third one, lemons, and that is, so in short, this is what we have. We can also just instead of just using alert, we can just use the console, maybe for the console.log, and then here we have the fruit which we are printing out. I think this is okay. So let's just see this in action. Let's just inspect. So from the given, so from the console you can see now this is the array of elements that are printed in this particular way. So this is how we use the for each. So it's to that is, it is able to print the elements in a for loop manner, that is, a loop manner. Is able to loop over these particular elements, and then you're able to use it. So these are use the for each array method, which is an advanced array method in JavaScript. Okay, now you can also have it in this way. So since I had shown you the syntax here where we have the value, index, and the array, you can also do it in this way. So let me just comment out this one, and let's look at it in another way. So here you can also have something like okay, let's use this one again. So this one is const fruit, and then here, so here we can have something like fruits dot for each, and then here we have the value, and then the index, and then we also have the array. So now the purpose of this one is just to show you the array, the index, that is the value, the index and the array, so that when we do the other examples, it will be easy for you just to know where how they are, what they are. So that's the purpose. So here we have here we'll have the console.log, and then so here we will log the value, the index, and the array, and then now here we can close that one, and then just like that. So now basically what we are doing here, we are now getting the value, the index, and the array, just like this. So yeah, so let's see how this is working. Yes, so now you can see now here what we have in here, we have in the value, the index. So mangoes is located on the index 0, and then now we have the array itself. So now this is so the array has 4 elements, being the first one is counted from 0, 1, 2, and then 3, but all of them, they are 4. So and then like so that's it. That's how you're able to identify the index, the value, and the array. And this is from the, remember, this is from the syntax I just shown you from above. Alright guys, so that is how you use the for each method in JavaScript. That is in JavaScript, and it's an advanced method that you not fail to use it in JS projects as you advance. Okay, so now let me just remove this. Let's look at the next. Okay, so now the next one is the map. So what is map? Now so map is a method that is one of the most used method, and what it does, it iterates through an array and creates a brand new array. So what it does, basically it just creates a new array from the given array, and you can say as well it has also the following syntax. So it has this syntax, as you can see. So what it is having here is that we can have a let a variable, a particular variable. So and then we have the array, that is .map, and then the function, the callback function, the item, index, and array. Now I think now you already know this already. And then here we are going to return the new array. So let's have an example. So here you can have something like const fruits, and then here we have I think I should not have taken out that particular example, because I'm still using the same example. So here we have oranges. Okay, so we have oranges, and then so this is okay, and then lemons. Okay, so now that is the array that we have in. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to define a particular, we're going to define another variable, const, and this is a method. This method is going to change these letters to uppercase. So here I'm having something like we're going to use this method in JavaScript to so this is like that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to alert this so as to return the fruit or the fruit elements that is the letter, the first letter to be uppercase. So this is what we're going to do. So here we are just returning fruit uppercase like this, and let me see what we may be having. So here we have, okay, this variable is not defined, so it's fruit. Sorry, this should be fruit. Oh, sorry, this. So here we have fruits. I've even forgotten to put the method. So here we're going to have the function, and then from the function, okay, and then the callback function, which is now there, which are going to define it as fruit. And then now from this one, we're going to return the, that is, let me do this. Okay, so this is so I'm going to return fruit to uppercase like that, but this one should be not fruit to uppercase, but should be dot uppercase, that is to uppercase, sorry. Right guys, so now this is what we're having. So we're having the const fruit uppercase equals to fruits.map, and then now we are having the callback function, and then return fruit to uppercase. So here we are going to alert the fruit uppercase. So uppercase is just a JavaScript a functionality in JavaScript, or a method in JavaScript that is able to transform particular elements or a given array of elements into uppercase, that is to uppercase letters. For example, mangoes will be turned to mangoes with uppercase. So now when I save this one, and since I'm using alert, so let me just close that. So you can see now there will be all turned to uppercase. So now basically what are we understanding here is that map function, what it does, it returns a brand new array. It just changes whatever array that we had given to something that is totally new. In other words, it transforms the array into something new. Alright, so now let's look at the next one. I think I may not, I think I may use this one at some point. So so let's look at the next one. So let me take out this one. So the next one is find. Remember, these are the advanced array methods that you'll use in your JavaScript project. So okay, so what is the find method? The find method, what it does, it locates an object with a given specific condition and returns the particular element. In other words, it's simple. It just finds a particular element in a given array of elements. So okay, so the syntax is just same. So the syntax is just similar as I just shown you. So let me just show you the example, and then from there you can you just relate the syntax as well. You can also check out this in my website, Web Dev Trainee, where I've written this tutorial. You can also check there where I've explained all this all of these concepts in a detailed manner. So let's just look at it. So find, okay, so this is the example. So here we are going to change some things. So here I'm just going to change this to let instead of const. Remember, there's a difference between the const and the let variables. So I've discussed this one in my JavaScript beginners tutorial, so you may want to check that in my website. You can just check, or in the description, I will leave a link in the description so that you can just go and have a look at if you are interested in learning JavaScript from scratch. I've also done, that is, I've done a tutorial on getting started with the JavaScript. Okay, so this is let. So here we're going to have we are still going to have the array of elements, as you can see. And then here, what we're going to have here, I think we'll have something like okay. So here we are going to have something like this. Let fruit. So we are going to define that variable, and then we are going to change this to find. So we wanted to find an element within our given array of data. So here fruits.find, and then here we're going to have like this, and then we're going to assign this one. So we wanted to find banana example. So these bananas. So we wanted to find banana, and let me close that. All right. So here, this one should not be there. Okay, so let me just remove it this way. Okay, so now that is what we wanted to do. So we wanted to find this banana, and then now here we are just going to have the alert. So that is now that is what is happening right now. And then here we don't need to have this one. Yes. So what we wanted to do is that we wanted to, so we are using the find method, defining the callback function, and then we are assigning it to this particular string element, which is located under this one, and then we are telling it to find the particular element in this array. So let's see. So once we hit, so it's able to find banana within the particular array of elements. So it's just simple as that. As well, let's look at another example. I think this was very simple enough for you to understand. So let's look at another example. Now you can also have it in this way. For example, here, let me just do this. So here you can also have something like this. So you can also have something like this. So what you are having is that we are having okay, we are defining the variable, and then we are defining the ID and then the name of the particular array like this. So what we want to do here, we want to define let fruits find, and then here we are going to have the something like we are going now to use item is equals to the item.id. So we are just replacing that fruit with item, so that it can find a particular ID of a particular array of data which is located under a particular ID. So here, for example, this is not string, so we are going to use it like this. All right. So and then we are going to let's use the console.log fruit. All right. So now this is what we are doing. So we have in the array of elements, and then we just want to find a particular array of element within this array. So for example, we want to find pineapples, which is located with the ID of 4. So we are telling it to locate for us. Let's change this one to, should be only to equal. So we want it to locate for us this one, this element. So we have assigned it ID. So item is equals item.id, which is this one. And then now here we are finding the item. So let's check. So that means I need to go to the console here, and then the console. So you can see, so the ID is 4, and then the name is pineapples. So this is how you use the find method in JavaScript. Okay, so now you also need to know that if the find method finds nothing, it will return undefined. So it returns. So here you just need to know that it returns undefined if it does not find anything. So just take note of that. All right. So now the next one is the filter method. So let's check filter method. So what is filter method? Now filter methods is also another method that is used to return our values that match a given condition, and that is passed to the callback function. So for example, it will filter all the elements and give you whatever element that it matched. In other words, it will return the values that match a particular given test condition that is passed to the callback function. Now the syntax is simple. You just have the let variable. For example, you have something like the syntax could be something like array and then dot filter and then the callback function. So here we have the function itself, and then we have the item, and just similarly with what we have been looking at, index and then the array. So that is how that is the syntax, right? So that is just the syntax. Okay, so so let's look at an example. So we are having something like let fruits be equal to, I'm still having the same array of elements. So let me just copy this so that I don't. So this is it. So let me just paste this one here for you to see. Sorry, it is not the same. So this is it. So so here I'm defining the given array like this. So this is simple for you to understand. So this already is familiar. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to define the let, and then I'm going to define this fruit is equals to fruits dot filter. So what we are doing here, we are filtering a given elements with, okay, let me just do it so that you get it instead of okay. So here we are going to say ends with a particular letter. Okay, so let me just finish it up. Okay, so this is and then here we're going to have a lot fruit. Okay, so now this is very easy also to understand. So what we are doing here is that we are going to filter all elements that have the letter that ends with the letter of S. So you can see oranges, pineapples, and then olives. You can see, so all of them end with the letter of S. So we are going to filter these elements and collect them. So here you'll expect it to give me oranges, pineapples, and olives. You can also use the one start with. So for example, let's say it starts with P, which should be pineapples, and which one else? I think it's only pineapple alone. So here we are going to also have pineapples alone. So this is how it is. You can also do it in other examples, which I may not want to do now because of I think those two examples are enough. So just for you to understand what the filter method does, right? Okay, so so if you haven't subscribed to this channel, just subscribe, like this video if you find it useful, and share it with your friends. All right, so let's continue. So the next one we are looking at is the every method. So this is another one. Okay, so what is every method? Every method is another method that is used to check if an array of elements match a provided test condition from the callback function. Therefore, it returns a boolean true or false. So it will just check if a given method, if a given array of elements match a provided test condition. So let's just check it in an example. So as well, the syntax will just be that every, so array.every, and then the function, the callback function, and then the rest, the item, the index, and the array. So what we are, okay, so let's do this an example. So here we have something like let edges be equal to 67, 23, 40, and 57. Okay, and here we're going to define another variable, let edge be equal to edges dot every, and then here we're going to have edge okay, so edge then is greater than 20. Now what we are doing here, we are checking if this particular array of elements, if all of them are greater than 20, and as you can see, that is true. So it's going to print a boolean which shows that this is true. So here we are going to have alert, so just to print out what we want. So you can see all of them are true. So this is going to return true because all the elements are greater than 20. So this is what every method does. It checks if the elements satisfy a provided test condition, and then it returns a boolean true or false. Now let's go to the other one, which does similar thing, but now this one, it returns all the elements have to satisfy the particular given test condition for it to return true or false. This is called sum array method. So here, so let's look at sum array method. So now this is another one. The syntax is still the same. They can check, so it is still the same. So what it does, this one, sum method doesn't have to return true or false for all elements. What it does, like the every method, so that is if one element meets the provided test condition, then the method will return true for all elements. So let's just check this in an example for you to understand. So here we have, for example, we have the edges 23, 40, and 57, and then here let's change this one to sum, and then here we have the edges just like that. So there's nothing much we are going to do, just a change of the method. So now here you can see, so all of the elements have to meet that is if one element meets the provided test condition. Now you can see 67 is greater than, that is greater than 20, or is more than 20, so, and 23, and so forth. So the first one, this one will be true, so it will return true for, because 8 of them meets. But now if this one was 13, for example, you can now see 13 is less than 20, so we would have expected it to return maybe false because one of the elements doesn't meet the test condition. But now remember, this is sum, this would have happened in every. So let's check. So it will still return true because one of these elements is still giving the satisfaction. We can even remove this one to 0. We make this one 7. So you can see these ones are less than 20. So when we save and run this one, it will still return true because this element satisfy the given condition. But now if, for example, we go back to every, okay, yes, every, so that means it will return false because all the elements have to they all have to satisfy the given condition. So let's have this one like 23. Now you can see 7 is less than 20, so it will still return false because all of them are not giving they are not satisfying. It has to be every. So sum, that is what it does. So this one, for sum, it will return true because one of the elements is satisfying the condition. So I think that is easy to understand. So lastly, let's look at the last one. I think, yes, the last one. So the last one is the reduce. So the reduce method. So what does the reduce method do? Now the reduce method calculates a single value in an array by calling a function for each element. So what it does is that it has something we call the accumulator, which has the initial value that is used in the array, and it is the result of the previous function call. Now let me do it in an example. Maybe you may not have understood what I've just said. So so the syntax is this reduce, and then here we have the callback function, and then here we have something we refer to as accumulator. Okay, and then the item, then the index, and the array. Now this accumulator, as I've just defined, is the one that contains the initial value that is normally is as a result of the previous function call. For example, we want to find the sum of all these numbers. 67 plus 23 plus 40 plus 7 will give us a particular resulting value. So for it to, now for them, so all of them are being added each by each, right? So the initial value here will be 67, which will be added to 23. Now what this accumulator does, it will have the initial value, which is 67, and then it will add up the next value from the previous value, right? Let's do this in an example. So here let's have something like const array. Just we are still going to use the same numbers, and then here we are going to have sum, and then here we're going to have still going to define const, and then here we have the array. So here we have in the array, and then the method itself, which is the reduce. So here let me take this one out. So what we have in here is we have in the sum, and then here I'm going to define another variable current, which is going to hold our current value, and then let's have this arrow sign into, okay, so this is going to have sum. So we are going to have the sum plus the current. So let me just print it and explain. Alright, so this is and then we are going to give it the initial value there. Alright, so there's something here. Okay, we have in the reduce, okay, into sum, Alright, so sum is assigned a value which is never used. So I think there's alright, so now this is the array dot reduce, and then the sum, and then the current. So so this is the, okay, so this should be sum like that. So what we are doing here, we have in the const array, and then the array, the data, and then now here we are defining the const sum, and then the array reduce sum current and so forth. Now what you need to understand here is that we have defined the accumulator. Now the accumulator has the initial value, which is 0, so it is going to initialize the initial value 0. So what we are going to do here is that 0 will be added 0 plus 67. So the first value will be 67, and then now the next value, which is 23, will be added to 67, and then 40 will be added to the sum of the 67 plus 23. So, and then the result will also be added to 7, and then now here we are going to print the value. So what you need to understand is that the sum and the current will hold the current value, and then now the sum will now give us the total sum of all the array of elements in this particular order. So I believe it should be 137. So this is how we use reduce in JavaScript. So it is one of the advanced array method function that you may want to go and use it in your JavaScript projects. So here what I was just doing is just laying you the foundation, the fundamentals, so that you can go and explore on them. Now what you may want to do is that you may want to check my website, Web Dev Training. So I've written, I do write tutorials here, so whatever I've explained here I've also written down. So you may also have this code, the source code, and you may copy and also do it in your practice so that you may understand more. So you may want to explore. So the website is just webdevtraining.com. So here, so webdevtraining.com, and you'll be taken to the website, right guys? So guys, let's meet in the next tutorial. If you have any question about this, you can post it in the description, and I will check it out. So subscribe to this channel, don't forget to like this video, and don't just watch and leave, just make sure you subscribe if you find the video helpful to you, right? So let's meet in the next tutorial. So now we look at promises. So now what are promises? So a promise represents a real life analogy of things we often use in programming environment. Now a promise in JavaScript, what you need to know is that it has a producing code that does something, and it takes time. So there's a producing code that does something and it takes time, and then now there's a consuming code that wants the result of the producing code once it's ready. So that is what is there. So you realize that a promise is a JavaScript object that links the producing code and the consuming code together. So we have a producing code and we have consuming code. The producing code takes time before it produces the result, and then now the consuming code is the one that consumes now the result. Now think of subscribers, for example, in the YouTube environment, whereby the producing code will take time. For example, if someone is to upload a video, and let's say he has promised that he will upload a video after a given period of time, you'll have to wait. And then now once the video is uploaded, you get to consume the content. So that means that the person is the producing code, the person who is uploading the video, and then now you as the person, that is you as the watchers or the person coming to view the video, you become the consuming code. So that is what happens in promises. So let's look at the syntax for promise. Now the syntax for promise looks like this. So what we have here is that we have okay, let me just leave it. We have let promise and then new keyword. It's a new keyword, and then we have the promise defined, and then the function resolve and reject. And then here we have the producing code, which takes time before it produces the particular content, or sorry, the particular code that is supposed to be consumed by the consuming code. So basically what happens here between resolve and reject is that a particular content may be rejected or it may be resolved. So rejected means that there's an error, so it doesn't get produced, but resolve, it gets produced when it is successful, right? So when the producing code obtains the result, it should call one of the callbacks, and the callbacks we're talking about is the resolve. And we have said the resolve is that if the job is finished successfully. Reject is that if the error has occurred. So we can have so resolve and reject are states. So the state may be resolved or the state may be rejected. Now let's look at an example for you to understand it better. So let's look at an example. So here I can define something like let promise equals to the new keyword. Let me give a space there. So new keyword, and then here we give the keyword promise, and then here we have the resolve and reject. Okay, so here we have now like that. So what we have in here, okay, so I'll give it an arrow sign like this, and then I now give the producing code, which as we have said may take time, right? So here I'm going to give a set timeout, and you'll know what set timeout means. So here, okay, so here we have okay, so we have resolve, okay. Let me just type fast so that you can get it, so that we may not waste more time. So guys, let's just use it within the script here instead of using it in the script.js. So let me just use it here and then explain what we are doing, since it's just something that is easy for you to understand. So what we are doing here, we have the let keyword with the defined variable, which is promise, and then now we have the new promise, resolve and reject. As we have said, resolve if the job is successfully completed, or reject if there's an error within our within the producing code. And then now the set timeout is simple. We are just now after given second, here it's 1 milliseconds. Is it milliseconds? Okay, so this one stands for after one second. So after 1 second here, we should it should give this array of data. They should be printed, because what we are doing here, we are saying promise dot then values alert values 0. So the value 0 should be this one. So this one is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So we expect the output to be oranges. So now when I save, okay, so guys, so the error here should be, I think we should close that one like that, and then I save. So now once I save, let's just check the output. you can see now the output is oranges. So so this function, that is the alert function, is called now. So it positions the element of, that is the element in the 0 position, or the index 0, it's oranges. So now when you come and refresh this page here, now after 1 second it brings the output. For example, now if we change to 2 seconds, that will mean, okay, after 2 seconds. Now remember, I'm using live server here, so that's why it's able to show. It is just doing it automatically, but when you refresh it here, so after 2 seconds, then it shows. So now this is the use of the set timeout, which I'm using. So now you can see now, so here what we need to understand is that the job is successfully completed, and then we're able to see the resolve. So we can say resolve here is the one that is being called, because now we have said we are using the keyword resolve, and then we are giving it the array of data. Now let's do another example which utilizes both resolve and reject at the same time. Now this code will be in my website, webdevtrainee.com, so you can check it out there and practice it on your own. Now let's do the next example, which should be this one. Okay, so now what this function is doing, or what this program is going to do, is going to call promise.then, and then is going to resolve, and as well, if there's an error, is going to print out, that is a reject. So here what I'm going to have here is that I'm going to have a function. So the function is going to be check edge, like that, and then I pass a particular parameter here. So let me pass something like my demo, and then let me open that one. So here we have something like document dot get element by ID. So that means that we need to create an ID of demo within our project. So I'll just do that one after we write this program. So dot inner HTML. So this one, we are just going to give it the parameter we have already passed here, which is my demo, like that. All right, so now that one is that, it's like that. So here I'm going to define a variable which is let promise is equal to new. So here we are going to have new promise into function and resolve and reject. Resolve and reject. Okay, so now like that. So now within this one, we are also going to define the edge that we want to give. For example, okay, let's just continue and then I'll show you what I mean. So here I'm going to use an if statement that is going to check if the edge is equals to a certain number, then print the output depending. For example, here I can say if the edge is equals to 20. So what the program should do, here I'm going to set, I'm going to set a timeout. Is timeout correct? Okay, so here I'm going to set timeout like this, and then here I'm going to have resolve. So now this one resolve if the job is successful. So here I'm going to have something like this is your edge, and then you can have something like an exclamation mark. So this is your edge, and then here I'm going to give the set timeout of 1 second, like that, and then okay, so this is going to be that way. So I don't think we really need don't need this one as well, this one. So let's just remove it out. So now once this is executed, if it is true, this one will be executed as the output. But else, if it doesn't meet the particular edge requirement that we have given, so here I'm going to have an else statement. So we're going to create another else, which should now print if it doesn't meet the criteria. So what it should do, okay, let's see. So here it should reject if it's not meeting the particular criteria. So that's what it should do. So here we can have something like a new error, and then into something like this. This is not your edge, and you can have the exclamation mark. Okay, so as well, we also give it the timeout. So here I'm going to give it a timeout of 1 second, like that, and then I close it that way. So that's it. So here is going to be that way. Then we close this, and now remember the promise.then, which is already there. Okay, so what you need to understand as well is that the promise.then, that the .then keyword is a keyword that goes along with the promise, which is used to resolve that is, what it does is that the first argument, for example, the first argument of .then is a function that returns when the promise is resolved and resolves the result. So now this one is going to resolve the result. Now the second argument of this .then, remember .then is running between the two functions. So within the second one is that it runs the promise, that is the second argument runs the promise. Now runs when the promise is rejected. So this one runs when the promise is resolved, so it brings out the output. Now this one also runs when the promise is rejected. So that's what happens in between these two. So we are calling that check edge, which is already it's already the user defined function, which we are calling, and then we are passing value if it's correct. So both of them will be called out like this, right? So let me let's see if everything is working well. Okay, okay, so I think we forgot to, so we need to have a div here, and okay, the div we are calling was an ID, so we can have so the class, and then the class is demo, like that. And since it's an ID, it's not a class, sorry, so we should have it as an ID, so that you can call our HTML page. Alright, so you can see now, so what has been printed out here is the error, this is not your edge. Why? Because the edge here is equal to 20, but you can see we have said let edge be 25, so it means this is less than 25. So we expect the second argument to be called using the dot then within the promise. That is the dot then keyword. Now if, for example, we say this is, we put this is, let's see what will be the output. Okay, this is not your edge. Okay, let's say, okay, let's just return this to 25. So let's say edge equals to, okay, let's say edge equals to, okay, so here let's say the edge is more, okay, let's say the edge is 30. Okay, we are still calling the same function. Oh, it's just, for example, if this one is 25, it should bring, this is your edge, right? So I think that's what I was trying to get at. So guys, so this is it. So this is the program that now it checks between the promise whether it is resolved. If it is resolved, it is called in this the first one, or if it is rejected, it calls the second one. Now let's do another last example that is going to, okay, let's check this other topic that is, we refer to it as the async / await. Yes, so async / await. Hope I'm spelling it right. Now the async keyword is placed before a function, and what it does, it makes a function to return a promise. So it is used along with a promise. So once now you have gotten the end of the promises in JavaScript, now we can use the async or await. So it is placed before a function. So we expect it to be something like this. So you expect it to be this way. So this is the syntax. Okay, let me just leave it. So now we have said it is placed before a function keyword. So we have async and then a function, and then now here you can define something like my function, and then you have a return statement, so, or return keyword. So that is what it is. So what it does is that it works inside the, okay, we have await. So we have async and then you have await. So await keyword works inside the sync functions, and what it does, it makes a function to wait for a promise. So basically what async, as we have said, so here we can say the async keyword, this one, what it does, it is, we have said it is placed before a function, right? And what it does, it makes a function return a promise. So here it returns a promise that way. And now for the await keyword, what it does here is that it works inside, so this one works inside the sync. So it works inside the async functions like that, and what it does, it makes a function. Okay, so it makes a function wait for a promise. It makes a function wait for a promise. So basically this is what it does. So that is what it does. So this is the syntax, and then this is what it does. So this one is placed before a function, returns a promise. This one works inside the async functions and makes a function wait for a promise. Now you realize these ones, they are used mostly in the API. When you are fetching an API, when you're fetching an API, you'll find that most of the time you'll be using the async wait, because for example, when we say the async makes a function return a promise, it means that when you are fetching an API, you are waiting maybe for a particular remote data, or yes, you are waiting for the data from another website, so you have to wait. And using the async and their wait, they play a very important role in that area. So now let's look at one example that will make us understand this very well. So let me just come back here to my JavaScript code here. Let me just take this one out. So let's take that one out and let's do this example. Okay, now this is the example. I'll just paste first of the first part of the code, and then we'll now type the next one so that we don't dwell much in the typing, but I will explain what we are doing here. Now this particular program example, what it does is that it fetches an API from the GitHub. So what it does simply is fetching a particular username, which of any guys who are already in the GitHub, they already have their names and the repositories they have within the GitHub. So what this program does is that it fetches an API. It uses the GitHub API, and then it is able to find the particular users within the JavaScript, within the GitHub environment. So here, what we are going to do, we are going to use the async. So here we are going to say, use the async. As we have said, it is placed before the function. So we are going to use the async, and then we are going to define GitHub user. So we are going to have something like this, and then okay, so here we are going to say let user so here we are going to have a semicolon there, and then here we say while true, okay, so while true, let name be equal to prompt. So prompt is it's a keyword to allow us to, it gives us a particular entry box that we can enter a particular detail, or that is, we can enter a user input, and then you're able to get the result which you want. So enter a name. Here we can have something like okay, question mark there. Now a name could be, let's say for example, I'm going to put my user GitHub name. So here I'm going to have this should be in quotes. Okay, this is my user GitHub name, like that, and then let's close that one. Okay, so now what it's going to do is going to find the person within the GitHub who has this particular name, which is Brian Mwengi, right? So here I'm going to use a try catch statement, which is going to catch any error that we are going to find within our program. So here I'm going to have user is equals to await load JSON, because we are going to load a JSON within the particular API. So here I'm going to put the API. So we are going to get the API, and then okay, so here let me get the API. So this is the API. So the API is this way. So what we are doing here, we are going to, let's remove this one. Yes, so we are going to get up users, and then we are going to get the name of the particular user that we want from the GitHub. So I'll just show you this one after we just end. Let me close this one. So here we have a break statement here. So this one, what it means is that if there's no error, exit loop, that is exit the loop. So if there's no error, then it's going to exit the loop. It means that from up to here, the program can execute if there's no error. But then now, if there is an error, we are going to catch it. So that's why we are using the try catch. So so here we have this like this. So now here we're going to use the catch keyword here, and then we're going to catch any error using the try catch. So here we're going to say if error instance of HTTP error, and that is error dot response dot status equals to 404. So here we're going to say, so let me just put this. So what we are doing here is that you're saying loop continues after the alert. Okay, so and then here we're going to say alert into no such user. I believe your understanding is something so easy, because once we find there's an error, okay, if it defines there's no any username within GitHub, so obviously we must have another area that brings out there's no particular such user with a particular name. So what it does here, it just says there's no such person with that particular name. So please, so we can have something like please please can have something like please re-enter the name again. So here we have something like that. So we are going to prompt the person to enter his name again, right? So that is what it is there. And then here we can just close that one, and then we are going to have an else statement, else. Now this one is going to print the particular error that, so here I'm going to have something like a non error rethrow. So now if you understand the concept of try catch, so you don't have a problem in this area, because basically what we are doing, we are just catching any statement, that is if there is no error, or if there is an error, then we are able to print it out. So now this one, if the program is successful, we are going to use that back tick sign, and then if it is successful, we are going to have something like this. So the dollar sign, which now, in other words, we are able to get the user. So here we have the user dot name, and then okay, so here, sorry, we're going to have it like that, right? And then we now close this, and basically we close that one like that. And then now once we are done, we have to call our function so that now it can give us the name. So we are going to call the GitHub user that we had already defined from above. Remember, we defined the function. So basically this is what it is. So this one will now call this. Remember, we created the async function GitHub user. Now this one, let prompt, so it's going to ask you for a particular GitHub name of a user, and then now we are going to use this. Now there's something I want you to understand about this API. So basically this is it. Okay, so so let's find. Now this is the API. Now you can see this is a JSON. That's why, for example, we had used load JSON here. There's a place, load the JSON, and then once it loads, go to the particular API which has users. You can see now the API with the users is this one. You can see now this one gives us the URL of the GitHub users. Then we also have APIs for example, getting emails of the particular GitHub users, their emails. We also have emojis, events, and many other particular API, but we're only interested with this one, which is this one here, right? So basically what we are doing now, we are getting the API, and then we are getting users, and then the particular name. So now once you give a particular name here, so once we give the particular username here, we are able now to get the user. So let me save this. Okay, so basically it should ask for me okay, so Brian Mwengi, let's see, full name user dot, so there has to be an error somewhere. Let's run this and let's see. So now when I refresh, so now the prompt is going to automatically assign this name, so that once I click continue, it's going to find GitHub name, my GitHub name in GitHub, which is Brian. Well, so basically that is what the program does. So it is able to find the particular GitHub users using this particular API, and that's why I told you the async wait are normally used within the API in JavaScript. So as you get advanced on this, you'll be able to use the async wait, so as to create or fetch API data from any particular website that you need data from. Alright guys, so this is the tutorial for today. So if you like the video, subscribe to this channel, hit the comment, that is comment below the comment section, and as well you can also follow my website. You'll get all this code within my website is the webdevtrainee.com. You'll also get all the information you need. So let's meet in the next tutorial.